What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode on a day where a whole bunch of shit just hit the fan. So let's start off with what's breaking today, and that is Elon Musk and Donald Trump's very public argument here. All sorts of crazy shit is being said on social media, all sorts of crap is being talked. So let's start with what seemed to have started all this. And it's that Elon Musk really did not like the spending bill that Donald Trump is backing. His big, beautiful bill that's going to raise the deficit, has all this crap in it. Before we really get into it and start here, let me just say Elon Musk is right. Okay, sorry. If you're a stand for Donald Trump and all you care about is what he says, maybe you side with him on this one. There's nobody else in the entire country that sides with Elon Musk, or pardon me, that sides with Donald Trump. Okay, unless you're just a Stanford. This bill is an obvious betrayal of what Donald Trump ran on. Okay, he ran on cutting the size of government, cutting the debt. He was the only one that could save this country from our horrible debts. Blah 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 blah. His spending bill has betrayed that. And we keep getting told by Speaker Johnson and Donald Trump, oh, next time, next spending bill will rein in spending. Maybe through some reconciliation process, we'll cut it down. It won't add trillions to the debt anymore after that. No, that's not going to happen. Okay. Do not be fooled by that bullshit. They spin the same crap every single time they do one of these spending bills. Oh, if we can just pass it, then in reconciliation, we can make it perfect. And they can't. It's so full of just trillions of dollars of garbage that we are never going to rein in government spending doing this. Since Republicans took every branch of government, we should not have allowed a bill to even reach the floor that doesn't balance our budget. We had a chance to turn the page in American history and say every spending bill must be paid for. And we decided not to. We decided to keep the deficit spending. And honestly, it makes us hardly better than Democrats at this point. It's embarrassing, and Elon Musk was right to call it out. So here's Elon Musk's tweet that seemed to have really stirred everything up. And this one's actually a couple days old. This took some time to work its way to Donald Trump's desk, apparently. Elon Musk says, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. The massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." And it's tough to find any fault in that tweet right there. He's dead on. It is an outrageous pork-filled bill that's a disgusting abomination. That's the perfect way to describe it. But Donald Trump can't stand that. He cannot stand somebody in public calling him out when he's wrong. So here's how Donald Trump responds here. He responded in a series of truths that I've got for you here. Okay, so the first one he fires off said after letting Elon Musk go, apparently, he says, "Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars and nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do. And he just went crazy." Then he follows that up with, "The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised Biden didn't do it." It's really frustrating to see Trump do this. Elon Musk was our best hope. Doge was our best hope of cutting out all the fat from the executive branch. Okay. And when I say best hope, I understand Congress has to actually authorize all that stuff. But him shining a spotlight on all the government bloat, pork, all the spending, that was our best hope. Okay. And Elon was the best guy to do it. If Elon couldn't do it, I don't think anybody can. So this split is really frustrating for our coalition. Elon Musk was a huge part of the cultural shift towards more libertarian and Republican values. And seeing that split happen, I mean, we knew it was possible. We talked about here on the podcast, we hoped this relationship would last. And it going for only a few months is really frustrating because Elon Musk did campaign with Trump. I know we say nobody voted for Elon, and that's true. But we voted for Trump, and Elon was campaigning with him for Doge. Okay. So by extension, we did vote for Elon. We wanted Elon in there, cutting out all the government fat, and now we lost it. It's really frustrating. Yeah, and to address this, Elon Musk did not just go crazy. Okay, this is the entire heart of Doge, is to cut out the government bloat. So then how can Donald Trump on one hand say he cares about cutting government, send Doge in there, use Elon Musk and his team, use up his time, and then back a spending bill that is the complete antithesis of Doge? I don't understand how he thinks he can do both when Elon Musk truly believes in cutting government. Okay. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's beyond comprehension. This is probably the stupidest move Donald Trump has ever pulled. And then to follow it up with, the easiest way to save in our budgets, billions and billions of Elon's government subsidies. Elon said publicly, Tesla doesn't need subsidies. He was interviewed by a reporter right before Donald Trump won, asking if the subsidies should continue, and he said no. So this is just a kind of feckless jab by Donald Trump over here at Elon. Trump would be better off listening to Elon than allowing his government hacks that he calls his advisors. These are actual swamp creatures, okay, that want the government budget to still put us billions and billions more of dollars into debt. That's who Donald Trump chose to listen to, those people, over Elon Musk, who is right that we need to balance our budget. If Republicans in these 2 years where we control every branch of government, okay, if we don't balance the budget, why would anyone ever vote for us again? It's all just failed promises. It's really, really frustrating to see this happen, especially in public. Okay, Democrats, for all the shit we give them for their cover-ups, and we're going to talk more about their cover-ups today, their lies, at least they make an attempt to do it in private. Okay, at least when Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama went to go push Joe Biden off the cliff, tell him he wasn't running anymore, they didn't do it on Twitter. They did it with a baseball bat in his office, I'm assuming. So I'll give them props for that. They don't embarrass everybody on Twitter. At least they don't try to. So then Elon Musk hits us with the biggest bomb yet. So then after Donald Trump tweets all that crap at him, here's what Elon Musk hits us with. Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald J. Trump. Really? So goddamn frustrating. There's so much so much about all of this. Number one, I don't care if Donald Trump's in the Epstein files. They need to be released. Whatever's in there, let's get it out there. Okay, I don't think Donald Trump was out there committing crimes on Epstein's island. But if he was, I'd want to know about it. Just like I want to know what Bill Clinton was doing there and all the other A-list celebrity pedophiles that were there. Okay, it doesn't matter if Trump's on it. They need to be released. That's what we voted for. More transparency. Donald Trump, both of his administrations have been some of the most transparent administrations we've ever had here in the United States. It needs to continue. We have to have the Epstein files. Okay, a pedophile who was admitted by the government to have some national security implications, so he was some sort of an intelligence asset, was busted, okay, running a pedophile ring for the richest, most influential people in the United States and in the Western world, Europe too. Yet he was charged, and so is Ghislaine Maxwell, charged and convicted of running a pedophile ring to nobody. Apparently, all of this sex for hire, sex trafficking stuff, there were no Johns. No convictions. We don't have any names. So who were these people? We need to see it. This story, the Epstein stuff is so infuriating. It's such complete bullshit. We've held off talking a lot about it here because I thought that we'd have the answers already. I didn't want to get out too far ahead of it when I thought we'd have the answers quickly, and we haven't. And if it's true, if Elon Musk is right and Donald Trump's in there, we're never going to see those files. Again, I wish this didn't have to play out over Twitter. But this is a big, when Elon Musk says this is a big bomb, it is a big bomb. We need to have these files. I mean, this is probably my biggest fear coming out of the Trump administration, is that he and Elon would have this blow up and then we'd end up with massive government spending. That was really my worst fear. It seems to have been recognized. And Trump and Elon were both just such big personalities. I knew it was going to be hard for them to get along, but I thought with all the shit there is to do in fixing the federal government, that they could stay far enough to be in their own lanes. But I should have known that was never going to happen. So we'll bring you more of this stuff as it drops. Again, a lot of these, they're still firing tweets off right now as we're recording this. It's so frustrating that and we've had such a high time for the right in this country since Donald Trump's victory. It's been a lot of good feelings. A lot of good things have been accomplished. I think Doge has done a lot of good things. And apparently the department's going to stay open and continue to do good things. But it's just not going to be as effective without Elon. This is a sad day. So with that, we will leave that topic where it is, and let's move over to something that happened a couple days ago. A really interesting one, actually. Karine Jean-Pierre, former press secretary for Joe Biden, has left the Democratic Party. She is now apparently ready to talk about the cover-up that was probably the biggest scandal in American history. Joe Biden being completely senile, us having no president for years, and the government lying about it. And amongst those liars, number one, actually, was Karine Jean-Pierre, his press secretary. She was somebody who, according to her, worked with the president all the time. And she lied constantly to cover up for the fact that we did not have a president of the United States. And I expect this a little more from administration officials, to be honest with you. I'm actually more angry at the media because they're supposed to be independent. They knew they were supposed to report on the truth. And they're private citizens. They don't owe the administration any loyalty. So I'd say in my hierarchy of anger, the media is probably at the top, but a close second is people like Karine Jean-Pierre. People who, as an American and as a patriot, you'd be required to stand up and say, hey, everybody, I work in the White House, and that president, you guys all supposedly voted for and democratically elected, yeah, he's mentally gone. So the right thing to do now is to tell the voters so that there could be enough public pressure to get rid of him. That would have been the right thing to do. If she was a true American that wanted to do the right thing for the people, that's what she would have done, along with every other government official. Covering this up is probably a crime. I'll just come out and say it feels like a crime against our country. If you are going to cover up for the fact that we don't have a president, number one, huge national security threat. Joe Biden is the one that allegedly they would have woken up in the middle of the night if there was a first nuclear strike coming at us. What if Iran was developing nukes underground. Turns out they only have a week till they have full nuclear proliferation, and we have to make a decision. There was no president. We were at a huge, huge, huge vulnerable spot because of people like her continuing to lie. And I've got a little montage here for you guys outlining her lies. This first one, 2022. This is a famous one, but I'll let it roll for a few.
Have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with it. We just got back from New Mexico. We just got back from California. That is not a question that we should be even asking.
I'm just gonna stop it right there. I thought I'd let it play longer, but I can't even get past that. For those of you guys that don't know who this woman is, she's a fairly young, I don't know her actual age, but she doesn't look like she's any older than 50. She's probably in her 40s. She's claiming right there she cannot keep up with senile Joe Biden, who's what, in his 80s? If she can't keep up with him, if that was true, she had no business holding a full-time job. Okay. The grocer at my local grocery outlet could have kept up with Joe Biden. Okay. He's 400 pounds and has diabetes. He could have kept up with Joe Biden. But this young lady says she can't. Obviously a lie, but let's continue.
Are you here? Where's Jackie? She must not be here.
No, I totally understand. I just explained she was on top of mind.
The book is suggesting the president tells aides he's tired.
But that's in the excerpt, right?
Yeah, and that's why there have been so few public events before 10 a.m.
I mean, that's a ridiculous assumption to make.
President Biden is the oldest president in U.S. history. Why does White House staff treat him like a baby?
No one treats the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, like a baby.
So there's this book that says
that's ridiculous.
When staff
that's a ridiculous
back,
claim. I would put the president's stamina, president's wisdom, ability to get this done on behalf of the American people against anyone.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole.
Again, she just left the Democratic Party and is now writing a book about how Joe Biden's mental health was covered up. I would like to know what is in this book. I'd like to actually read it. I'm probably going to have a Cliff Notes version given to me instead, because I'm not going to read the incoherent crap that she has to say. But all of this, I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so serious. I'd laugh. But the just brazen lies. I mean, remember at this time, that last clip was from 2024. So we had years of seeing Joe Biden wandering into the jungle, not being able to find his exit from the stage, naming dead people. I mean, you could just go on calling President Zelensky President Putin. You could just go on and on and on. So we had all seen this, okay? And she still is standing up there telling you, commanding you really, ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears. You know, that's the party's final and most essential command. And she thought people were going to fall for that. And now she thinks that she's going to go write a book hunting for who was behind this cover up. That's what I'm assuming it's about, unless it's a confession. If it's a confession, you know, I think it should be entered as evidence in her trial, which she deserves to be on for the harm she did to this country. But I mean, it's akin to didn't O.J. Simpson write a book about looking for the real killer? Like this is what this reminds me of. She's like O.J. Simpson, and this book is looking for who really killed Nicole Brown Simpson, right? It's just the most tone-deaf crap. And she'll probably make $1 million off and retire, go sit on a beach, or bother us somewhere else. I don't know. But the gall of these people, like Karine Jean-Pierre and Jake Tapper too with his book, to parade around the country, leave the Democratic Party as if that matters, and tell us, guess what, guys? We just found out this crazy thing. Joe Biden has dementia. And it's not this it's not like they just found out. They knew the entire time. But it's this limited hangout where they just admit a little part of the story that, oh yeah, if we just admit Joe Biden was senile, now that it doesn't matter anymore, then we can all write books and absolve ourselves of any guilt and move on with our careers. But we can't let it happen. You see, we have to continue to call out people like Jake Tapper, like Karine Jean-Pierre, forever, because the courts aren't going to hold them responsible, even though they should. So the American people have to hold them responsible. People like Karine Jean-Pierre shouldn't be able to hold a job. Okay, she's disqualified from running a lemonade stand. When you do that much damage to our country, okay, the only place you should be able to live is abroad. Go somewhere else. Because every time you walk down the street, people should be looking at you, wondering, is that the lady that lied to us for years? And then had the gall to go around on a book tour hunting for the real person behind the cover-up? It's just unbelievable. The gall of these people. We can't ever let them forget it. Just like COVID, all those people, okay? And I'm not talking about your neighbor that got fooled by CNN. I'm talking about the anchors, the executives, the governors, the congressmen, all the leaders, just like during COVID, who tried to seize power, unconstitutional levels of power. Okay, we can never let them forget it. Remember who those people are, just like you remember who this woman is. Okay. She lies for profit at the expense of every single American. And now she's attempting to cash out. Again, like I said, even as much as I would love to read what crap is in that book, I will not give her a penny. Unbelievable. Okay, let's jump to a little more constructive topic here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the right-wing coalition. Some people are calling it the new right. I thought I'd just talk. We've spoken about this in the past, but I recently wrote a little more structured of an article here, and I wanted to break it down for you guys. So the way I see this new right-wing coalition is roughly a third old school conservatives, right? These are people that have voted Republican for a long time. They may have voted for Reagan. They may have voted for George Bush, and now they're voting for Donald Trump. Conservatives, okay? That makes up, I think, about a ideological third of our current coalition. The people call it the MAGA movement. MAGA is not really an ideology, but you could say of Donald Trump supporters or this new right, about a third of the ideology is just straight up conservative. Okay, these are the folks that have voted Republican again a long time, but opposed to a lot of the social crap. Okay, the race, radical gender theories. Okay, the trans crap, the 1619 Project, the divisive race, like the BLM movement, I guess is one way to put it, but it's more than just that, okay? It was all the racial stuff that started under Obama. That was when race relations in this country, if you look at the polls, started to get worse. They're opposed to all that. These are good, conservative people who are not racist, but they don't like being talked down to by college elites, people that, you know, tell them their kids can't get into college because of their skin color. These are the type of people that are the conservative wing of this coalition. And then we've got the populist wing. Okay, this wing really came into effect in 2016. Okay, and it didn't just affect the Republicans; it affected the Democrats too. Donald Trump was able to marshal this populist support in 2015, 2016, when he was talking about tearing down the establishment. No better example of the populist energy than Donald Trump saying he opposed the Iraq war and just lambasting Jeb Bush on the debate stage during the primaries. That was the populist movement. Him talking about draining the swamp. Okay, another great example. That was the energy that was in the country that Donald Trump harnessed. Okay, Bernie Sanders harnessed this same energy in a more left-wing manner, a more libertarian left manner, but he did the same thing. Now, it's hard to say he would have won against Hillary Clinton had they not rigged the primaries against him, but they rigged the primaries against him. So we'll never know for sure. But a lot of that populist energy that was behind Bernie Sanders, this fuck the man energy, shifted over to Donald Trump. And if you're sitting there wondering who in their right mind could be a Bernie Sanders supporter and then support Donald Trump, those are the populists. That's the populist energy in this movement. People that despise big corporations. They despise maybe not as much big government, but they are skeptical of power in our society. And there are people on the right and left that feel that energy. Donald Trump consolidated those populists. Okay. It doesn't feel like a lot of people could be out there that fall into that bucket. But when you look at how many young people consider themselves to be right wing, it's the most right wing young generation we've had in a very, very, very long time. Those are the folks we're talking about, mostly young people that said it's either Bernie or Trump in 16. That's why I shouldn't say that's exactly why Donald Trump won. It's a little more nuanced than that, but as a big reason, Donald Trump was able to pull off the upset victory he did over Hillary Clinton. The populists hated her. She was an establishment hack. And so then there's this that's two of the three parts of this coalition, this ideological coalition. The third part's the libertarian part. And there are a couple factors here. And I'm going to talk, I know I talked more about 2016 with the conservatives and the populists, but actually it was more 2024 that the libertarians showed out for Donald Trump. And there's a pretty simple reason why. That was COVID. The left went so authoritarian during COVID that when the next election happened, 2024, you saw a lot of them move over to the Republican candidate. And there's two big reasons for that. One, I think that a lot of libertarians felt this election was too big to vote third party. They really wanted to use their vote to to tip the scales towards the anti-establishment candidate. And libertarians have a lot of legitimate gripes with Trump, especially that's been pushed to the forefront today as Doge seems to be falling apart. And I get that. But could you imagine the position we'd be in if Kamala Harris had won? That's what I'm getting. That's why a lot of libertarians voted for Donald Trump. And even with the spending bills we're getting, even with, the I don't want to say failure of Doge. Doge did a lot of good things, and they may continue to do good things. But with this falling out of Elon, libertarians still feel like Trump was the best call, given the choices. And I agree with that. And then you have this second factor too. Chase Oliver was nominated as the libertarian candidate. He was somebody that favored COVID lockdowns. I mean, he's in favor of the gender ideology. I think he's really into like open borders too. He has all these terrible takes. He was a how do I say, historically bad candidate, even for libertarians. Terrible. So you had a lot of folks in the who are libertarian leaning. They might not be card carrying libertarians, but there were a lot of people that, especially in 2016, said, I'm not going to vote for either one of these two candidates. I'm going to vote Libertarian. You didn't see that in 2024. And I think it's those two factors. It's COVID. Okay. COVID really raised the stakes for making sure we don't let any more authoritarian administrations into power in Washington, D.C. And it was the really terrible nomination of Chase Oliver. So in 2024, those three coalitions come together. Three pieces of the coalition come together and create what we are calling now as the new right. I think that the meld of all those ideologies coming together are more what I would call Western conservatism. And that what we're going to call this ideology moving forward is up for debate. It's gonna shift around. It seems like a big shift just came today. I would like to see libertarians taking more power in this coalition, because I think we have a lot of government. Conservatives, populists, and libertarians can all agree that we have a lot of government to cut before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of, oh, populists feel we should, cut, program Y and keep Z, but libertarians don't think so. 50% of the federal government, I think the entire right-wing coalition agrees needs to be cut. And until we cut down to that size, we're going to all be on the same team. And I don't like to be a pessimist, but we may never get there. So we're all going to be on the same team for a long time, it looks like. So I think we should learn to get to know each other, learn to work together, understand that we're going to have differences in policy and opinions, and that's okay. It feels weird to have a former Bernie Sanders supporting Democratic Socialist in the same coalition as a hardcore libertarian. But political realignments are weird, kind of by definition, right? So we should keep an open mind and understand that we may have differences, but we have to travel so far along the road that we do want to travel before we get to any of those differences. We got a lot of battles to fight together before we start worrying about the nuances of each other's policy goals. So I'm hopeful. That makes me hopeful. I think this coalition is built to last. I think even with the issues Elon's had here with Trump, I think that our country is still in good shape, and I'm still optimistic. So with the bad things that have happened today, I wanted to leave you guys on that happy note there. Thanks for listening.